Back in June, at Big Northwest Subaru meet, Andrew had been poisoned with lust for yet another car part.
I love that.
And not wanting to waste any time, he bought it right there on the spot. Something had snapped in him, making it imperative to flap his gurney with a new product from Perrin Performance, the BRZ Gurney Flap. It was invented by Dan Gurney in 1971, obviously developed purely as a method of holding additional dope-ass stickers on hella stanced cars. The Gurney Flap, however, does actually serve another purpose. Gurney discovered, with the help of McDonnell Douglas and their wind tunnel, that fitting a Gurney Flap affected pressure across the wing's entire upper and lower surface, adding downforce and reducing flow separation on the suction side of the wing. It's pretty plain to see that sticker holding and looking fly as shit is the most important use of a Gurney Flap, but racers repurposed the Stance Nation approved design on race cars for generations to come. Which brings us to today, the day we flapped Andrew's gurney. We started the process at step 0, which is gathering all the tools you need for the job, and then realizing the Perrin has specified a very hard to find drill bit.
25/64 or something like that. They called it a W-sized drill bit as well.
Okay.
Couple tools, looking for some tools.
Yeah. Then there's step 0A, where you should wander around aimlessly looking for the bit. Step 0B, where you figure out it's in a large expensive drill bit kit that you already have most of. Step 0C, you swallow your pride and you buy the damn drill bits. Step 0D, notice the golden ratio in all the world around you.
So check this out. The pattern for the background of the lights, the reflective pattern on the inside of the housing.
Oh yeah?
Is a golden ratio.
Oh, like a spiral? And finally, just get to the fucking install already!
The first step is to, tape off your wing here. We taped along the whole flat surface here. And I also taped along the top here because we're going to be handling a piece of metal and tools on paint. And so once you have that taken care of, we're going to start making some measurements. And the first step here for that says to make marks measuring from the edge of your trunk towards the center of the emblem on the back here, 22 5/8 inch from both sides, and then you make a vertical mark. And they're supposed to meet up, indicating that you found the center. If not, we'll make a mark in between. Good job, Perrin. 22 5/8 is not at all
the center.
What we should be measuring.
What is the center? I mean, since we've got the measuring tape, what's the midpoint between those two?
Well, the center of 1 3/4 is 7/8. So we're just going to measure between these 2 points, and then I'm going to measure to make sure that it actually lines up center with everything else. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and find the midpoint between the 2 fake midpoints that we just measured. So to the end cap here is 20 3/8.
Next, we need to mark the midpoint on the line.
1/4 of an inch or so. And that's like the bevel of the tail. And you can actually see it here, the way the light is reflecting off it. We're gonna measure 1/2 inch down from the end of the beveled portion of the wing. If you measure 1/2 inch just from the top here, it puts it like right there. And then you'll have your gurney flap sticking way up here. So 1/2 inch from the 8th.
Right there.
Yeah. I'm gonna measure a 3rd time here just to check percentiveness. We just did step 6, which was to measure our vertical center. So now we're gonna move on to step 7 here, which is drilling.
Is it drilling time?
It's drilling time.
Don't forget that $25 drill bit you bought.
We have our 25/64. We have our 1/8, which is what Perrin recommends that we start with here. And then I just chose one that's sort of in between. So 3 sizes here. we'll see how it goes.
You start with a pilot hole and step up to bigger sizes. Andrew was a bit careful with the drill, but as long as your pilot hole is true, then the other bits should be no problem to fit right into the dead center.
It's actually really soft plastic, so be careful. Remove roughly 1 inch of tape around the hole. For the first hole here, we're going to use one of our riv nuts. We're going to use the M6 bolt here that was given to us. We're going to use a washer, the riv nut tool, and a 10mm ratcheting box end wrench. We also have, as per the instructions, a nice bucket of grease. We're just going to dip the bottom threads here into the grease.
But first, a warning.
Your tool has two sides to it. It has a large diameter hole and it has a small diameter hole. And the instructions don't tell you anything about that or which side to use. During the install, we had a few where when we were tightening the bolt into it, material was being pulled through the opening of this tool. What I found out exactly halfway through was that if you use the small side, it fits the bolts that you use perfectly and there's nowhere for that material to come out and it'll give you a perfect install. Use the small side. Otherwise, you're going to need a Dremel.
Yeah.
We're going to take our riv nut and a washer, stack those up. We're going to throw bolt on through and make sure that the grease applies to some of the threads in here. The riv nut tool needs to go between the washer and the riv nut. Yeah, the way you're supposed to do this is by pressing. And you're supposed to go until it stops. So now we're just going to loosen this bolt up.
Now it was time to loosely install the flap to figure out the position of the other bolt holes. Eyeball or measure your alignment. Trace the bolt holes. Take note that to get the flap past the spoiler fins, you have to lift it up and then slide it down. Measure from the spoiler top, like you did on the center bolt. Carefully mark the midpoints on all of the traced bolt holes. Then drill in stages, again from small bit to large. Andrew noticed that he had not drilled deep enough on some of the holes when we went to install the riv nuts, so he drilled them a little deeper and test fit them before continuing. Now install all the riv nuts with a small opening of the riv nut tool like the center. Removing the tape, it's time to install the flap. A spare set of hands is definitely useful here. Don't forget the edges of the flap have to be lifted up and dropped into position by the spoiler side fins.
We got it too.
Yeah.
And by God, you've done it. That gurney flap is flapped like a gurney, bro. And your sticker storage problems are now at an end. So thanks for stumbling through our install with us, and hopefully we've saved you some time on yours, because if you're anything like us, you're not a professional, and you're not going to get it right on the first try. I'm Graham with Minute Rice Channel. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned. Please like, subscribe, share, or tell people about us, or send us money in an envelope, or whatever the hell you feel like.